If you guys didn't know, the PS5 Exclusive Returnal will be dropping at the end of this month on April 30th. It was initially supposed to be released on March 19th, but just like most of the bigger games this year, it was delayed. Returnal is a fast-paced action shooter with a look and gameplay that we haven't seen before. What's up? I'm Cosmic, your friendly neighborhood gamer, and today we're going to be talking about Housemarque's Returnal, the Doom-like shooter with a twist. Let's go. Technically, this is a roguelike shooter, and if you don't know what that is, traditionally it's an RPG where you dungeon crawl through procedurally generated levels, so levels keep changing basically. There's usually a lot of turn-based gameplay, which is not in this game, and grid-based movement, which is not in this game either, and permanent death of the player character, which is technically not in this game either. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, since this will be my first roguelike anything. But even Housemarque just calls it a time loop game. Maybe I should play Hades. Anyways, it's arcadey, which is what Housemarque is originally known for. But if you haven't heard of this game at all, I'll do a quick recap of what it's about. The story takes place on an alien planet called Atropos after our protagonist Selene receives a warning and a broadcast signal from a mysterious source called the White Shadow, and it somehow causes her to crash land. Selene is trying to get to the source of the signal, but the world is not your average alien world. It's actively shapeshifting, and to what extent is the mystery, because it seems as if it may be altering time as well, or at the very least our protagonist's perception of time. The PlayStation site says Selene must search through the barren landscape of an ancient civilization for her escape. Isolated and alone, she finds herself fighting tooth and nail for survival. Again and again, she's defeated, forced to restart her journey every time she dies. And the twist of her dying is that everything will be different from the last playthrough, which is why it's considered a roguelike. Which it does sound tedious at first, but they also said that they want to encourage the player's tactics to change as well, and they will give us the tools to do exactly that, with weapons evolving and changing as well. The site says every loop offers new combinations, forcing you to push your boundaries and approach combat with different strategies each time. One of the goals in Housemarque's design was for extreme replayability. They say the procedural world of Returnal invites you to dust yourself off in the face of defeat and take on new evolving challenges with every rebirth. So basically you're like the phoenix of this world, coming back for more and more.
I can't stop you from hating each other, but I can slow you down. Please!
Now, the reason why I'm calling it a Doom-like shooter with a twist is, if this didn't have such an intense story, changing levels, and if it was slightly more watered down for a lack of a better phrase, this will basically be just third-person Doom. If you ever played Doom, you know how fast-paced it is, and you know that movement is just as much of an asset as shooting your gun. Enemies are relentless and don't shy away from shooting or charging at you. They're not trying to duck and cover, they're trying to rip your head off. And that's how Returnal's combat works. You will have to keep moving to survive. And yes, just like Doom, it is somewhat like a platformer, and they will give you an arena to battle your enemies in while granting full mobility in that arena as well. I think it is safe to say that this is going to be more detailed than Doom, at least until the next one comes out. Maybe. The PS5 will give them enough freedom to be more than just an arena shooter. I'm pretty sure. I think there will probably be some narrow spaces and or different layouts where you can get cornered and really have to make an attempt at surviving. And how exciting is it that when you die, almost everything changes? Usually you want to stay alive as long as you can, and of course we're all going to try. But in roguelikes, death can actually offer you something. An experience that will only be available through death, possibly even weapons. But to fully experience this game, you will have to explore a lot to reap the benefits, like finding things to evolve your weapons you use over time, like the Electro-Pylon Driver, which is a more pulse-based weapon that seems to track your enemies, but eventually you'll be able to generate shields and also extract extra loot from enemies. Another weapon is the Spitmaw Blaster, which is basically a shotgun, but eventually will gain explosive shells and acid pools. And since you can stack these perks, the combinations to what you can do to the enemies are endless, which I'm very curious of how they will balance all of these options, considering when you start the game over, you will approach what they're calling a Cethonos, which is like this mysterious alien tech that is keeping progress of how good you're doing and gives you a random item at the beginning. And when I say item, I mean item, not a weapon always. The item will increase in power each playthrough, but when you accumulate enough progress, Rethonos will generate a new item that you will be able to use immediately, and will be an added option to the loot you can find around the world. People have gone on to say this is very similar to Hades if you've played that. I haven't, so I can't comment on that. But despite only being able to hold on to one weapon at a time, they also incorporated what they're calling the ultimate firing mode on all of the guns. And it is in direct correlation with the PlayStation 5's adaptive trigger. So when you press down slightly, the trigger will lock halfway. I don't know if everyone listening has a PS5, but there can be different levels of pressure put on the DualSense triggers, and the PS5 will register it correctly. But if you press it all the way down past the halfway mark, then your gun will enter the ultimate firing mode, and you will basically be able to utilize full power of your weapon. Here are some examples.
New technology discovered. Augments my weapon with an alternative firing mechanism. Highly effective. This will be useful.
Every time you die and restart, the world will change. The map will be different, enemies will appear in new locations and in differing numbers, so you have to think fast and adapt.
The environment.
Here you can see the use of the lightning alt-fire, which is great for crowd control. This is one of many alt-fires that you can acquire in the game.
So technically you kind of have two weapons in one at all times. One for direct attacks and the ultimate firing mode for crowd control. Some other weapons that aren't guns are the Atropian blade that is heavy on enemy shields, or the kinetic siphon that restores player health with each melee kill. Oh yeah, and the dismantler, which is a smart bomb. A more risky thing you can pick up is the parasite, which always has a benefit and a risk factor. The benefit could be something like gaining health on each kill, but the counter risk to that based off gameplay is your enemies leaving acid pools that can actually harm you. But there are also weird perks that you can use with parasites, such as carrying certain artifacts, which will increase your max health for every parasite you've attached. And there are a bunch of other artifacts that do different things. Now, when you find alien tech throughout the world, you can upgrade and enhance your abilities for future cycles.
You will stumble across mysterious devices that can grant rewards to the player. These will vary from weapons, consumables, and upgrades, and they can completely change your playstyle and make each cycle feel unique.
But to counter that, they do say you'll need to manage equipment and resources carefully. So you might have some stuff left over when you die, but if you're not good with your resources, you will probably have nothing but your earned abilities and obolites, basically in-game currency that you will have to spend for a multitude of reasons. One of the biggest reasons you'll want to spend obolites is to buy a checkpoint. So when you do die, you're actually able to respond further into the game instead of at the very beginning. But they also keep that high risk reward energy, with obolites also being the only way to repair your suit. Which doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you consider that some of the containers that you open can not only give you loot, but potentially give you a curse that damages your suit. With obolites being the only way to repair it. So resources do not equate to abundance in this game. But moving on to visuals, I'll put some stills up on the screen. These are directly from the PlayStation site. As you see, they didn't hold back the detail, especially in the environment. It is a very consistent atmosphere. Dark and gloomy as it may be, they made the enemies very colorful, but not in a Kitty Skittles kind of way, but more so a kind of intense alienish way, with them glowing based on the different abilities they use. And my guess is that the lights will be visual signifiers as to what type of enemy you're facing, which would be very smart because it seems like the enemies are always kind of shifting their forms, and the game is so fast paced that if the enemies are kind of highlighted by their own powers, it'll make it easier to aim at them. Here's another shot of the environment. This is giving me somewhat of a Tomb Raider vibe, but it also really reminds me of the movie Prometheus. But it's even more natural feeling. There's a lot of proof of time passing, with nature taking over all aspects of the structures. But it does look kind of beautiful in this weird twisted way. There's even little glowing alien bugs in the corner. Anyway, Honestly, gameplay wise, it just looks like a visual feast. With all the colors and all the movement and how the aliens don't move like your typical, earthly being. They have more of a Lovecraftian look to them. The light gives them a lot of personality, but without them, they look very formless with all of the tendrils and stretchy skin.
Hey, your skin is hanging off your bones.
Oh, yeah. Is that leather?
Which I like because they not only invoke mystery, they make you question if this is some type of destructive side effect of alien technology or even the planet itself. Or is it just how these aliens look and act on this planet? Based on a lot of the structures in the game, it seems to be humanoid-like aliens responsible for the architecture, but some of the aliens look slightly humanoid too. But none line up directly with what the structures and statues convey. Story-wise, there hasn't been much said, but what we do know is they're going for creepy vibes, and they're also going for more of an alien psychological horror. Based on the trailers, it seems as if the planet is kind of seeping into Selene's psyche, and I'm not sure if it's making her forget her own life because they talk about piecing together fragments of Selene's memories as she seeks out answers. And they also say that every time she dies, her memories and psyche become more twisted.
Hey, Liv, you're melting. You're melting. What? What?
Maybe she doesn't remember why she's even on this planet in the first place, or what her original mission might have been, because we know she crash landed, but why? Did the planet pull her in? I mean, it's a possibility. Since we don't know the extent of what power the planet holds, there could possibly be more answers in her own memories. They say that Selene will be forging a personal connection with the planet as you explore its constantly evolving and decaying terrain. So we know for sure by the way they keep talking about this planetary body that it is somewhat conscious and aware that Selene is on it, but they're not being very clear about if the planet is being hostile towards her or is it just the things on it. But I do like a good mystery. As long as the story's pace is good, I don't mind not knowing what's going on for a while. My personal theory is that there might be something more powerful tucked away on the planet, almost like a time machine or some type of reality warping technology that may have malfunctioned and had unforeseen side effects, wiping out or at least transforming all alien life that was on the planet. But the planet itself is conscious of this and is using Selene to basically purge the surface and even save itself. Maybe. But that's all I have for you guys today. What do you think about Returnal? Do you like roguelike shooters? Are you a fan of Doom? And the big one, are you up for the challenge? Because Returnal isn't holding back on forcing you to make decisions and deal with whatever consequences that you end up with.
When will you learn that your actions have consequences? Another adventure title! This is a nightmare!
Comment down below if you want to chat. I do want to take a moment to welcome the new subscribers and thank everybody who liked my previous video. I really can't thank you enough. I love that you guys are enjoying the content and I am focused on consistently raising the bar for you guys. But thank you, I appreciate it. And if you didn't know, my name's Cosmic, aka the Cosmic Anomaly. Thanks for your time. You've been great and stay creative. Peace.